Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together all the different albums that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you. And of course I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. I've got 10 different things to run through with you, coming from all over the place, so we're going to dive into that in just a bit here. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, this is an added bonus. By turning on notifications, you stay up to date on really cool videos just like this with new music finds and all the cool things that I've picked up, maybe sparking some new ideas for you. So as I like to do, I kick off with new releases that just came out. And so this past Friday, March 17th, some cool items. In particular, Babylon AD, Live Lightning, so a live album from them. And again, and it's gonna like totally go in the face of everything when I say this right now. I'm not a big live album fan, and yet you're gonna see in this episode I've got a bunch of live albums, including this brand new one here. And while I do like this, and I can get behind it and I enjoy it, I'll say this about the album. It sort of sounds like a club show in which they added a lot, live crowd noise from an arena concert. So it doesn't quite gel. The performances, the sound overall is a bit muddy, and that may have to do more with the record label than anything else. This is on Paris Records, and unfortunately they're kind of known for that. They're like Cleopatra. You have to be very careful of the quality of stuff that you're getting from them. Now what's interesting is that while the instrumentation and stuff is a bit muddied and the bass is turned up in it, and so you get a very powerful sound from it, the vocals are very clear, and that's why I say this sounds more like a club show, because there's a lot of crowd noise when they start, and then there's nothing during the singing on it when you would normally hear all that stuff in the background. So I don't know where this was recorded. It doesn't say on the inside. It just, thanks all their fans and stuff like that. But good, clean vocals, sounds great in that regard. As I said, it's a little bit muddied in terms of the musical aspect, the instrumentation, but it's not bad. And like I said, it's got a good, strong, powerful punch to it. So, if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. I'm a glam metal fanatic and I love Babylon AD, so it's got to be in there for the collection at a minimum. The other thing that came out that was big for me at least was U2 Songs of Surrender. This is the 4 CD version of it. They call it a box set, but it's really just a digipack in a case like this, a slipcase sort of a thing. But it is numbered. So I had number 18,706. Supposed to be limited, but that sounds like a lot of copies to me. I also picked up the single disc edition of it, which I thought was kind of cool. I wanted to just get and see what, if they were releasing a single disc version of this, what were sort of the best tracks. And this pretty much follows a greatest hits kind of a thing. So this is cool because there's a lot of deep cuts on this, and that's why I'm glad I've got the 4-disc version of it. And I have to say, I wasn't expecting it, but this thing really grew on me, and I like the performances and I like the reinterpretations. You still know what song it is, you can still feel that connection, but at the same time some of these are wildly different and very good for it. I don't know what they're going to do when they go out on tour, if they'll perform maybe a little batch in the middle of it, because these are essentially acoustic versions that have been reinterpreted. And initially I didn't know that going into it, that they were calling it that. At least the original press release did not specifically focus on them being acoustic, focused on them being reinterpretations and stuff. And I don't read a lot after I get the initial information on it, because I want to sort of be surprised about what it is. I don't want it to be completely broken down before I even get it. So that was a little surprise for me, and turned out to be a good one. And this here, even though this focuses predominantly on the greatest hits as the single disc version of it, I found myself really enjoying it as well. So those two things right there came out. I'm still waiting on the Hanoi Rocks album Oriental Beat. There was a remix version of that, and I didn't get mine yet, but we'll be seeing that in the coming weeks. Then, as I mentioned, at the top of this show, I ended up picking up a number of live albums this go around here. Just sort of dipping my foot in it. I've been testing it out more. A lot of you guys talk to me about live albums all the time, and it seems to be a big thing that's out there. I'm, again, not a big live album person. Give me a preference from studio to live. I'm always going to choose the studio. But there is something to be said for a lot of live albums. And right now I'm compiling my list of top 10 live albums. And so that's part of what this is about. I'm checking out more of them, and I'm really exploring them, and I'm hoping to put together my list. And so you'll see that one as a coming episode on a Top 10 Tuesday type thing down the road. But one of the other ones that I picked up, I don't know that this one will make it, but Steve Miller Band Live, a 1977 show from August 3rd. Really, really good set list. Opens with Livin' in the USA, jumps into Space Cowboy. So it's kind of cool as it kicks off with some of that older stuff, and then it gets into the big hits that we know. But there were some nice deep cuts on this, and I really like it. It was great sound on this here. So very, very cool. There's the inside of it, just so you can see. Not a very good shot of them, though, in my opinion. That's a much better one there. But I did very much enjoy that, so I'm glad I have that. And then I picked this up because this is considered to be one of the all-time best live albums out there, and it goes to Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous. And I had one that was called, I think it was called Still Live and Dangerous, or Still Dangerous, something like that. Recorded on the same tour, but not the way that this is here. And as is the case with many of these, like this one and UFO Strangers in the Night, Kiss Alive, all of those claim to be some of the best live albums ever. Now the problem is with those, lots of them have studio overdubs, things like that are done in it. Some of them, like the UFO Strangers in the Night, even have a couple tracks that are studio versions with crowd noise added to it. So this one here did not blow me away. Now, it doesn't mean in the right setting that it won't. I was not particularly in the mood for Thin Lizzy right now, as I was into other things. So I think that might be why it didn't necessarily connect with me the way, say, like UFO Strangers in the Night. But I did get it. It's in the collection. All of you guys that have been telling me time and time again to pick it up and check it out, kind of a thing, I now have it. So I'm going to, have that there for exploring down the road and so forth. Keeping on that live album kick there, picked up Scorpions Worldwide Live. Now, I do have a version of this, the remastered edition of it, that adds 4 additional tracks. This one here stops at track 15, and I just wanted an original version of the, I think this is 1985 live album, yeah. And what it was, as opposed to when they do a lot of these remastered things, it's sort of like the same thing with the UFO Strangers in the Night, where they added tracks at the beginning of it that weren't the original one. I like to have those original albums, and so that's what I was picking up that. And one that I had a Japanese pressing of in a paper sleeve, but not a jewel case edition, was this, the Scorpions Fly to the Rainbow. I think this is the second studio album, and it features Julie John Roth joining the band on this one, as opposed to Michael Schenker, who left for UFO. As you can see, UFO, Scorpions, Michael Schenker Group, all that, I've been on a whole kick going around with that. And then, kind of surprisingly, I started to veer off in a whole other field that I don't really spend a lot of time in. I think generally in the 70s and early 80s, just referred to as soft rock. But later, and I found out that this was only coined in 2005, Yacht Rock. And I've heard that a lot lately, and I thought it was a tongue-in-cheek term. I didn't even know it was a real thing. But it turns out it is. I think it's sort of the same way that there is glam metal that later got coined as hair metal. And it's sort of a derogatory term. And I don't know if yacht rock is the same thing, considered a derogatory term, as opposed to just calling something soft rock. But I didn't kind of realize that I already had some of those artists. Steely Dan, and of course I know Toto and Journey and things like that kind of fall into that area too, America, stuff like that. So I had some of those, and then I started hearing a lot of this, and so I decided to pick some up and didn't know I knew some of these songs. So one of the ones I picked up, Seals and Croft. And incidentally, these three here, it's because I just got back from Sound Exchange picking some stuff up, so that's why the price tags are still on these. This one being a used one at $5.99. But I didn't know that Summer Breeze was their song. I knew it as a artist that had covered it and stuff, so I'm like, hey, I want to check that out. I dig it. Next one I got was Little River Band, and it's just a definitive collection of best of because I want to explore them. I've tried them in the past and nothing ever clicked with me. And when I was just kind of scrolling through soft rock or yacht rock bands, their name came up. So I thought, hey, let me check some stuff out. And I liked what I heard while I was streaming it. So this one is what I'm most interested out of the three I'm showing you right now. But the other one I decided to pick up was Christopher Cross, somebody I've heard about all the time. And again, his stuff has never appealed to me. But I know that Saxon covered Ride Like the Wind, and that's the first track on here. And while I know that is not going to sound like the Saxon version of the song, it did make me want to check it out. So kind of a little bit all over the place. I mean, having some U2 and, so some alternative rock, some glam metal was thrown in here, some straight up 70s hard rock, and then some soft rock, yacht rock. So a little bit of everything within these 10 items that I got, coming from all over the place. Some came off of Amazon, some from Sound Exchange, my local record store, stuff like that. So a little bit of everything for you guys. Hopefully maybe you found some stuff within that sparks your interest to go out and search something, or you just enjoyed hearing about the new releases and things of that nature. But there you go, that's what I picked up. And catch me again next Wednesday. I do these every Wednesday, and you can see all the stuff I'm picking up and adding to my more than 11,000 CD collection that you can see a portion of behind me. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.